It's another week, another game night. The Bears are back and they're out of sight. Bad calls, bad luck, it's a weekly sight. Tune in to another bad call, let's make it right. Yo, it's another bad call, it shows the name. Breaking down the plays, the blame and the shame. From Soldier Field to the NFL's domain. We're here to talk it out again and again. Another bad call, it shows the name. Breaking down the plays, the blame and the shame. From Soldier Field to the NFL's domain. We're here to talk it out again and again. Again and again. Again and again. Yo, yo. Again and again.
The more I hear that, man, I'm just rocking out to it. I'm enjoying that. Thank you, Suno AI. Welcome to another Bad Call, the podcast that proves the refs aren't the only ones who get it wrong. I'm JD, and with me, as always, is Big Brother Justin. How we doing, buddy?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Happy to be alive here.
How was that smoked turkey?
It's pretty good. It was
Yeah.
pretty good. A little salty, but nothing wrong with that. The cranberry sauce that you dropped off was delicious. I can't wait to try that with some brisket. It was good with the turkey, but I think it'd be really good with the brisket. I did not try whatever that white sauce was that you brought because I couldn't get over the visual. I couldn't do it.
Oh, come on. It was an Alabama white barbecue sauce, and it's tangy. It's got a little bit of zip to it. It goes well with the turkey.
All right, well, maybe next time.
Pulled pork, it goes good with pulled pork too. So
we did not do Thanksgiving as a whole family this year. We kind of separated up a little bit. How was your Thanksgiving?
it was good, nice and relaxed. I made it over to where I was spending the day and time to settle in and watch the full Bears game. Usually,
So the second half.
I was there for kickoff. Normally, the wife and kids are, they've got their Thanksgiving morning tradition of watching the Macy's parade and everything, and then they start getting ready, and then I'm getting, pressured to leave the house at halftime through that first game. I'm like, well, my tradition is I want to watch the damn football game, but
Right. All right.
so it kind of worked out in my favor, and then
Nice.
whatever, we'll get into what we saw, but then at least I had the line. I had to clear that taste out of my mouth. That basketball game right after.
Yeah,
on
that was
CBS. So
that was fun to watch them take down Cal. Well, Coach Cal, I should specify. In that instance, yeah. So we we just went over to mom and dad's 10-minute drive or whatever it is. It was really nice to be able to watch most football games, because usually, as nice it is to come out and see you guys on Thanksgiving, usually what happens is I miss the second half of the first game and the first half of the last game, and can barely keep up with what's going on in the middle game with everything going on. So it was really nice to be able to just sit and watch football. My favorite holiday. All you do is eat and watch football. It's wonderful. Love it. So very grateful for that. Not grateful though for how the game went down. So let's go ahead and jump into this. I guess we shouldn't bury the lead, as it's news out there, right? We're days past at this point in time. Chicago loses to Detroit again at the very end of the game. They find a way to lose a game. Time runs out. Caleb's, making signals, standing there waiting for a coach to call a timeout. They decide not to call a timeout, and ultimately that not calling a timeout costs Matt Eberflus his job. And we'll jump more into that whole side of it, but let's talk about the game itself first. And then
it was. I would say it was just the final nail in the coffin.
Right. That was the. You kind of took the handcuffs off at that point, or put them on, depending on which way you want to look at it. Let's talk about the game here. this is really a tale of two halves. The offense was struggling in the first half. Defense was holding up as best as it could given the situation. You've got some stats in here. I've got some stats in here. I'll let you get going on your take of that first half.
Yeah, for real. Slow start again, 16-0 at half. The Bears gave up 150 yards on the ground in the first half. So I don't know how much the defense was doing, holding them, slowing them down too much. But the Bears they started out with 3 and outs, and then a 4 and out, and then finished the half with a 6 and out. Caleb was only 5 of 14 in the first half. They just didn't click.
It was rough. I mean, the reason I'm saying the defense held up as best it could given the situation, as you mentioned, the way they went with their 3 and outs. Chicago had 2 first downs at halftime compared to Detroit's 18. 57 total yards to 279 total yards. But the time of possession is where I'm talking about the defense, doing what they could. Really, I mean, the Bears maybe had 7 minutes of total time of possession during that first half, right? So that that other 23 minutes is just trying to keep that high-powered offense, a very creative offense, from just running up the score. And the fact that they kept them at 16 at halftime is kind of impressive. I mean, it was to the point where Ben Johnson was like, "Hey, we're going to take our right tackle and have him throw a pass."
Yeah, that
was a kind of a slap in the face.
You would think it would, but yeah, that was kind of in the beginning of the second half, wasn't it? That play.
Was it? I don't remember. I just remember laughing and going, "That's the ultimate like who's your daddy move to be like, hey, our right tackle's going to throw a pass now."
Yeah, it was. But that's what Detroit does, right? They shove it down your throat and then they try to make you look silly, and
Yep.
that's been their MO. So yeah, it could have been worse than 16-0, but
yeah, thankfully it was not.
Right.
Yeah, so why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about what really turned it around coming out of half?
So Detroit started having injuries stack up on their defense. I will say that the offensive Chicago did start to click a little bit. They started getting some first downs, which gave them a little bit of momentum, and then they really started putting that pressure on Detroit as the offense picked up. I will say I'm questioning a little bit the play calling by Detroit. They only ran the ball like 11 times in the second half. It was working. I don't know why they went away from it.
Yeah, definitely made a change. Listen, Caleb's first half was his lowest half of football based on EPA this season. So if you look at it, that first half of football was his lowest, just pure EPA. The second half was his 4th best. So a big time tale of two halves. So whatever adjustment was made at halftime, whatever was said at halftime, by whoever said it, good job. That's what we need to keep seeing is whatever's lighting that fire and letting them play free. But that's what we need to be doing.
Right. It wasn't just Caleb either. The
whole team went to good. I'm just
the run game wasn't making anything happen. Cole Kmet did not have a good game. He did catch 3 balls, but he had 2 real costly offensive pass interference that really killed both times, killed good plays where he didn't need to, right? He just kind of needed to be in that area, and rather than like put an actual block on the defender, he just needed to kind of get mixed up in it a little bit.
Yeah, the second one, to me, like if the second one had actually been like the first call, I'm not sure how much it would have gotten called, but because he'd already gotten dinged for the first one, which was blatant, it's kind of like, okay, we're gonna watch for it now. Yeah, that was definitely mistakes on his part for sure. But also not backbreaking, right? Like that when it comes down to it, those weren't game costers. That one
Right.
single play, anyway. But it is something that's going to have to be cleaned up because, as we've seen, the difference between winning a game and losing a game can be one simple play.
Well, the Bears have, thus far this season, have had several times stack up where execution. Um,
Sorry. That looked like a Marvin Mims
uh,
93 yards is what that was.
I need the cover from the Browns, so um, that's not what I'm looking for. I will say, as a side note here, before we finish off this Bears game, this Monday night game, as a fan of the orange and blue color schemes, those Broncos uniforms are lit with
Yeah.
the all blue tops and the bottoms, and then the white helmets.
Yeah.
They look sharp. I was when I first turned this game on and I saw that, I was like, "Ooh, man, these are spiffy."
Yep. Things be happening in Denver. That is definitely I couldn't agree more with you. Those are very nice. Anyway, I apologize for the detracting away from the game. We'll keep moving into it. That's the thing with these live shows. We get distracted easily while there's football on. Try to be a little bit better about that. I do have another note on here that and again, as you mentioned, it's not just Caleb, but Caleb ends up as one of only 4 QBs this year against Detroit to have a positive EPA when all is said and done. And we already talked about that first half being his worst of the year, right? So, but for the game, he still comes out in a net positive. That's saying something, right? That team really turned things around.
Yeah, I believe that he's the only quarterback to have multiple touchdown passes against Detroit on the year, and
Well, I mean, that's 2 weeks in a row where he's gone up against the team and had the most success against the team. So
right.
kudos to his development and to Thomas Brown for being able to pull this out of this offense.
And not only uh, does he score, he's valuing the ball. He's not turning it over. We
Yep.
got another game. He's on a streak of like 5 straight games now with no interceptions. Um, he leads them. He leads them on a comeback. Right. He has them in position. He's got a drive at the end of the game. They're getting down into field goal position at least to have the opportunity to tie it, send it to overtime, and then it falls apart. We're 40 seconds left. We have back-to-back plays with sacks, and the one play, man, was just ugly. I know they said that it was maybe supposed to be a draw play or something, but both tackles just completely not only whiff on the edge rushers, just let him go by,
Yep.
and he gets crunched on that second sack, so kind of knocks him out of field goal range, or at least on the very far edges of it. But the Bears, it was then what, third down, and they they got 40 seconds left. They just got to get back, regroup, um, get a short play in to get into field goal position. They still had a timeout, but whatever was going on, they weren't getting that play in. It was taking them a while to get set up, and they just, Eberflus just has a dumbfounded look on his face, and
Yep.
swallows that timeout. And so then finally Caleb realizes they're gonna run out. They're not calling a timeout. He audibles into, one last play, deep ball.
Yep.
And it doesn't work out. But So yeah, just a poor communication, poor operations of the team there just leads. And so instead of getting blown out as it looked in the first half, then they embarrassed themselves in another way. Ooh.
Sorry, I gotta stop looking down. I looked down to see the Browns just answered back with a 70-yard Jerry Jeudy touchdown.
Nice.
Wow. For those of you that bet the under, that's probably not hitting. Yeah, listen. I give Caleb credit for going, okay, look, we got 6 seconds. Audible, hike the ball and go. Definitely wasn't his best throw, but what do you expect at that point in time, right?
And he should have realized it a little bit sooner. He could have taken a timeout. But ultimately, when you're the coach and you see what's happening there, you need to step up and be the man and call the timeout, get your team organized, and give yourselves a chance.
Yeah, I appreciate you finished my sentence. That's where I was going before you jumped in there. Yeah, there's a lot of blame to go around there. There was a total lack of urgency from Caleb and the rest of the offense, in my opinion, getting back to the line before that. I mean, we were just like, you could hear the announcers, everybody that was watching the game is like, hey, come on, let's go. Get to the line, get moving, let's get going, let's figure this out. And it just wasn't happening. And, at some point in time, the communication with the headset cuts off. And Eberflus has to, in that moment, protect a rookie QB. You absolutely have to protect him. As you said, he just stood there and looked at it almost like he was just going, well, this is going to get me fired. Like, I'll just, maybe I need a break. It is what it is. As Bears fans, I don't know about you. I was just kind of like, I was angry for like half a second. Then I was like, well, that seems about right. But if they win that game, the reality is we're not moving on to this next piece of our conversation, which is the Bears do, in fact, end up letting Matt Eberflus have a press conference Friday morning and then
the Bears
firing him 2 hours,
Bears
2 hours later.
Going to bear.
So here we are.
Malfeasance as usual.
Listen, I will give them credit for having a rational, non-emotional, I guess, conversation about it. However, they could have moved his press conference because it happens the next. Like you could have. That part was kind of bad.
Here's what I'll say is there should have already been a foundation of groundwork of this is where we're at with this guy. And if we have the last, domino fall here in any way, shape, or form, then we have to do it, right? It shouldn't have been like they woke up Friday morning. I mean, why did it have to wait till Friday morning? I don't understand that either. Like they should have been talking Thursday night. But that's beyond the point.
It was also Thanksgiving. I
get it, but you're in the NFL, you're a multi-billion-dollar organization. Sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet and do the hard thing.
Yeah.
This wasn't even a hard thing, really. I don't think.
Yeah. I don't know. You've had to fire people before. I've had to fire people before. Regardless of the situation, it's not easy because you are messing with somebody's livelihood, right?
I'm not. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm also not saying that the decision is hard. The decision is usually the decision is usually there in front of you. Most of the time, when you have to fire somebody, it's not because you're firing them; it's because they've earned it.
Right, 100%. I'm not going to argue that part at all. Let's roll into Thomas Brown, as we've talked about a couple times now since he took over offensive coordinator. We said, hey, maybe he's our interim head coach that we need to be, and that's what happens. Now he's going to come down out of the booth. He'll be on the sidelines. He's still going to call plays. He did make a joke in his press conference that he considered for a half second, like, hey, maybe I will stay up in the booth and be the first head coach to do that. Just joking around with it. Chris Beatty's going to take over as offensive coordinator and help out with that. Eric Washington is going to take over play calling duties for the defense and handle that side of it. What are your expectations from Thomas Brown as a head coach at this point in time, from what you've seen as an offensive coordinator?
Look, I already I think I said it. Maybe I said it last week. If not on here, maybe it was maybe it was just back and forth. But I'm a little apprehensive about them naming him as the head coach because they've had some positive momentum with him and Caleb's development, and I like having him in the booth calling the plays. So I'm a little bit worried that we're gonna lose something there in what we know should be developmental the rest of this year. That's what we should be focused on. But there's no doubt the guy commands a room. He uh, he knows what he's going to say. He's going to deliver a clear message. The expectation is everybody's here to work and work hard. I think that from what I've heard on some of the interviews and things like that with the other players, they're buying in. At least they're going to give him, as Jalen Johnson said on the score this afternoon, he's here to give him grace and give him the time because he knows this guy's been put into a tough situation in a short span. And so I don't think we're going to hear the chirping in the media that we've been hearing thus far this season. I think things are going to quiet down and this team's going to pull together. I won't be surprised if they win two of these last few games of the season.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially you're going up against a very broken Niners team.
Right.
Joseph, thank you for stopping in your message chat. Said truth is Eberflus should have been let go last year. New coach, new system again next year. Terrible management. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with it. I was very much, Justin was Fireflus the day he got hired. I was for keeping him if you were keeping Fields because you do keep the continuity, from that standpoint. But if you are going to go with a rookie QB like they obviously did, then you probably shouldn't have had that same head coach because the cycle continues. But the Bears broke a 100+ year tradition and fired him. So, here's where we are. We can't really go back and fix it. So we got to move forward with it. I personally think this is Thomas Brown's audition to be the full-time head coach. I think that's part of why they went ahead and did it, why they went ahead and fired Flus, and why they made him interim, because he's going to get an actual shot at this job. He has shown that he has that gravitas, if you will. He has that charisma. The players seem to be buying in. And when you listen to him talk, he talks a lot like Mike Tomlin. There's a lot of similarities in the way they talk and the things they're saying. It's very direct and to the point. And here are my expectations. And if you don't meet them, I'm going to hold you accountable the same way I will hold myself accountable if I don't meet those expectations. He even came out and said, listen, the end of game stuff, some of it falls on him too. Like he says, like, I'm not free of blame, which to your point that you've talked about a lot this year is Flus not standing up at the press box, or the podium and saying, this is on me. I need to fix this. This guy's getting up in front of it and going, hey, some of this was me and we need to work on it already. So a huge difference between the two men right away. That said, CBS Sports put out, or NFL and CBS, sorry, put out the top candidates to become the Bears' next head coach. At the top of the list, Ben Johnson. These are according to Brian Diardo. Ben Johnson, Joe Brady, Thomas Brown, Aaron Glenn, Liam Cohen, Bill Belichick, Arthur Smith, and Cliff Kingsbury. Yeah, let's go ahead and take Arthur Smith off the table because I don't need that experience. Somehow that just tells me we'll end up with Tyson Bagent as our quarterback for 48% of the plays, which I don't want to go that. So I know that your top choice is Ben Johnson. A lot of people's top choice is Ben Johnson.
So that is who right now I think is the home run hire. But do I think it'll happen? I have my serious doubts. But I can't for sure say that I 100% have this is my guy. At this point I've been picking apart the why certain guys why it shouldn't be. Look,
cool.
Thomas Brown.
Let's do that.
Thomas Brown. Sounds good. I like what we're hearing from him. I fear that there's a reason that he was available and he wasn't getting jobs as offense. He was a passing coordinator because he failed he was part of the failing group at Carolina last year, right? Did he
he took over as play caller for Carolina from a failing Frank Reich with a rookie QB and a terrible team. So
I get it. I get it.
Also, the story is though, supposedly, and I haven't double checked this, he turned down some offensive coordinator gigs to be the passing game coordinator in this situation.
Okay.
So, I mean, either way, continue on, right? Thomas Brown. Okay.
How many times has an interim head coach gone on and been successful? And if you choose him to be your head coach, are you going to give him the freedom to go out and build his own staff and not just take over the flu staff? Because to be honest, the stink needs to leave the building, and it's not. Part of it was taking out the dead mouse, but you also got to clean up around where that thing was rotting. So that's my
mouse.
What's that?
It's a damn called him a dead mouse.
Well, I mean that's it died. It starts to stink. It leaves a stench. You got to get rid of it.
All right.
Who else is there? Belichick to me is not the guy.
If you bring in Belichick, Poles has to go. I don't think Belichick comes if he doesn't have GM capabilities.
And I just don't know that he's gonna be here to build, right? Like I think if he goes in someplace, he's in someplace that's already like there.
Well, and we talked about when he left the Patriots that we felt like he had kind of lost the ability to deal with the younger players and coach the younger players, and there are a lot of young players on this team. So,
and there's going to be more because we have the draft capital, right?
Right.
So, Joe Brady is kind of interesting, but I mean, how much of his success can you just tie to Josh Allen? I've had a lot of issues with the Bills' offenses that I've seen as well in the last couple of years. Who else did we say?
We're not touching Arthur Smith. Cliff Kingsbury is on the list.
Kingsbury, no thanks. We saw what he did in Arizona, and we've seen what he does. I mean, the guy has something there offensively, but for whatever reason, he gets stuck halfway through the season. And
I'm starting to think he plays Call of Duty with Murray, and that's the problem.
They peak. they peak and then the offenses start to falter.
Yep.
I've heard of Vrabel, Mike Vrabel a lot, and to be honest, the last couple of years after Arthur Smith left, his teams started going downhill. And yes, he's the strong leader man type, but I don't want to go down this road with another defensive head coach. I think they need to put an off because if they do get a defensive head coach and then they do happen to finally hit on the offensive coordinator, that guy's going to move on, and then you gotta get it right again. And I would like to tie with Caleb Williams and his development because we've seen enough to know that he is probably the most talented quarterback that the Bears have had. I mean, he's going to surpass Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
And
Quickly. Yeah.
And he was the second. He's now the second. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So our future, and can somebody take this team and turn them into a perennial contender? Right? You're always battling for your division, and you have a chance to take it to the Super Bowl. If you build this right, we're still in the window. We have the assets. We have the quarterback. It's possible. You just got to get this hire right.
Yes.
So, and I've heard people comparing Ben Johnson to Matt Nagy. Well, there's a huge difference. Matt Nagy, before he got hired, had barely called plays for half a season at Kansas City. And then he comes here. Ben Johnson has been calling plays for a few seasons in Detroit. He's been there for that build and the culture build, right? And he's done it with a quarterback who is probably not a top 7 quarterback in the NFL. Yes, he has some advantages with his offensive line and some of those other players. The Bears have assets, though.
Let's hang on though, because I don't want to blow past that last point, because that last point is my biggest concern with Ben Johnson. Is he's got arguably one of the best offensive lines in football, which allows him to do creative shit like have your right tackle try to throw a pass, right? Like they've got an amazing 1-2 run game, again, in part because of that offensive line, right? And a lot of that culture, yeah, he's been there for it, but it came from Dan Campbell, right? I mean, you knew it from his very first press conference. So I
agree.
Very energetic. I haven't spent enough time really watching Ben Johnson and how he coaches or how he is on the sidelines to go, hey, this is going to be the type of energy you're getting from this guy. And he has been very successful. There's no doubt about it. He's been very creative. Can you be that creative when you don't have that same line? Because we know that is a huge, huge difference.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because you don't want defensive guy. Let's say they don't get Johnson, but they get Aaron Glenn. You still concerned about that?
Yeah, you're in the same boat. He's got to be able to build the staff, and if he gets the right guy.
So what? So here's what I'm thinking, because Aaron Glenn does have that fire. Like I've seen enough of Aaron Glenn to go. He's got that same mentality, right? Bring that in, that same nasty NFC North. Like that's what we're gonna do. Bring in somebody from the Ben Johnson tree at that point, right? That has been there with Ben, maybe their pass game coordinator, whatever it is. Bring them in.
Yeah,
possibility.
You're still then hoping that you pick the right guy that can call the plays.
Absolutely. But if you bring in Ben Johnson, you're hoping that he can be that leader of men and keep that same success and creativity with less.
You have to interview and make sure that is right. But I'd rather take that chance on him than to watch the next Kyle Shanahan go someplace and you miss out on it.
Yeah, and who knows? He may be available. He may be a name that pops up here real quick.
If yeah, you know what? if for some reason he does become available, he goes to the top of my list.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's got the experience, and he can be creative on both fronts. And he's got that same type of tree building mentality for sure. I still, as of right now, think this is Thomas Brown's job to lose. I think he is 100% interviewing with these last 5 weeks. I think that is just the Bears MO, if you ask me, because it's going to be a money saver for sure. There's a lot of really good optics that go with it for promoting within and letting him go. He's turned the offense around so far to this point, and if he can win, I mean, he's got 3 more shots against divisional opponents, right? Like if you can somehow win 2 of those games, like you win the Green Bay game and you can hand Detroit a loss, they're gonna have a real hard time moving on from him.
Eberflus is the only Bears head coach to never beat Green Bay. So if he, yeah, I don't disagree. I have a feeling that's the way things are heading. I'm uneasy about it. But that's kind of like you can see that blueprint
Yeah.
it's very Bears, right? Very
Yeah.
Bears, because he's gonna be cheaper than what Ben Johnson is.
Oh yeah.
And you know what, if that happens, my dream scenario is that um Mike McDaniel gets fired, and then Thomas Brown can hire Mike McDaniel as his offensive coordinator, and
That'd
and
be
to,
interesting.
and together you know, that they could really, like, make Caleb Williams pop, because the
Yeah.
sentiment, the things I've been hearing about Mike McDaniel, he's got this great offensive mind. He might not be the head leader of things, and being up in the booth calling plays might be his better suit.
Yeah, and he's definitely got some personalities to deal with there down there in Miami, which can make some of it difficult. And honestly, he's been handed a rough hand. The drop from QB1 to QB2 there is massive. But listen, we're gonna have plenty of time to keep discussing coaching candidates as we move forward.
Right.
Let's see how this next week against San Francisco goes. Uh, they've got a good shot at winning that game, whereas we were looking at that game early in the season going, hey man, that's gonna be rough. But is Trent Williams going to be back and play? Congratulations, they just had a kid. It turns out that's why they weren't playing. CMC's down now for the year. Jordan Mace's on IR. So you're dealing with Isaac Rendo, and that team is different without Trent Williams. We know that. Their left guard was out last night too. So we'll see what's going on with that. But a beatable team now. Like, that game is not nearly as daunting. So
For
we
sure.
will.
They're down
we'll
to
see what happens.
their fourth string running back, as CMC and Jordan Mason both ending up. Well, I don't think officially CMC has hit IR, but I know Jordan Mason already has, and so they're just depleted. They're that team. They had we shouldn't spend too much time, but they had all the contract issues with Ayuk at the beginning of the year, and Trent Williams, and it just wasn't their year.
Plus, you've got a Bears team that's probably going to play out of their mind for TB this week.
Yeah.
So should be at least fun to watch. Hopefully they don't come out and fall flat on their face. Right. That's what we're looking for here. All right, buddy.
Sure.
Anything else on the game or coaching candidates, or you ready to move on?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into my degeneracy.
Yeah. So welcome to Tales of a Degenerate here. For those of you that have not been here, this is basically a section for Justin to tell us usually how things went poorly in the sportsbook world. Every now and then you get a good story. So let's see what we got this week. Story time.
I was I was on the ball with my Westgate Super Contest picks and made them on Wednesday evening after going 5-0 last week, which that felt pretty dang good. I was up to 32-28. I started out well with Packers -3 and the Cowboys -3.5 on Thanksgiving. Um, and then the Vikings and Texans both won, but they did not cover their spreads, unfortunately. And the Panthers did. So I ended up going 3-2, puts me up to 35-30 on the year. So
Mhm.
above water.
Nice.
Starting to feel like I'm doing a little bit better here. Um, I also then went for kind of went for a grand slam on Thanksgiving, and I picked three guys to score twice. Um,
Mm.
it so happened three guys did score twice on Thanksgiving, but not the three that I picked.
Too bad
So
you couldn't just bet that 3 people would score twice, right? Like,
right. That would have been. You could probably get positive money on that bet too. But
yeah, plus
uh,
240 or whatever it is. Yeah.
yeah, would have been good. But yeah, turns out Devin Achan was the only one that did score of the three that I picked. No CeeDee Lamb and no Jameer Gibbs. Um, but so then I did do my normal for the score, but I didn't have time to make a video yesterday, and so I put 5 out there, and I only got 4 or 1 out of the 5. Bucky Irving is turning into quite the stud down in Tampa Bay, but the other guys that I picked have been guys that have hit the end zone a lot this year, and the fact that Alvin Kamara, Chuba Hubbard, James Conner, and Nico Collins all missed the end zone was pretty amazing. But so not the best week, but
Yeah.
we're I'm I'm in I'm close. If I can get the cover of 6.5 for the Browns in this game, I'll hit a nice SGP tonight. So
All right. That's nice. I'm not going to be mad about Bucky Irvin turning into something. That he was my second round pick in a dynasty league, so I will take that all day and twice on Sunday. Brian Thomas Jr., Jaden Daniels, and Bucky Irving are working out quite nicely for me there. Now, I'm completely out of that league for other reasons, but I've got some good youth coming up. So the other reasons mostly are because I'm terrible at fantasy football, for the record. Has nothing else to do with anything else. It's just I'm terrible at fantasy football.
I fell out of contention probably for making playoffs this year. I suppose there's an outside shot, but I don't think it's going to happen. But heading into the last week of regular season for best ball, I have two teams in it, and I have 2 teams advancing right now. So
Nice.
looking good to at least get one of those through into the multi-millionaire playoffs. So fingers crossed.
I am in first place in a smaller league and battling for a playoff spot in another league. I won a must-win game this past week. Despite Bucky Irving putting up 27 points, he put up too many points to keep me calm, I guess, because I was up quite a bit, and I was like, okay, this is good. I'm making up ground on points too that would lock up a playoff spot, but that did not happen. So I'm in a must-win next week, and I need to see the other guy lose to have a shot to get into that one. But all right, buddy, let's move on into bad call of the week. Hashtag BCOTW.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my bad call of the week. We're gonna go back to that Detroit team, um, and it came out yesterday, or that Jameer Gibbs has a post on social media, and I didn't quite catch the actual post of what it was. I've only seen the screen grab of it, but he had a post where him or one of his teammates standing in front of a whiteboard in their, I'm guessing their running back room or whatever, and all clear plain as day, all of their protection calls, the names of the protections for their plays and everything. And the way Dan Campbell finds out about it was a reporter uh, asked him about that. Like, is this something that you got to talk about? And it was, you could tell that he's like, what are you talking about? And then it starts to register, and he's like, yeah, we can't. And he just walks off. I don't know if it was a time for his press conference to end, but he sure ended it. And you can be sure that that Jahmyr Gibbs has heard about it, and he will. He's cost their team a lot of work. That's all I'm going to say, because clearly they're going to have to change the names of their protections and stuff that Jared Goff calls at the line. And yeah, that's kind of that's a big for a team that seemingly has had everything going their way aside from Aiden Hutchinson this year. This is a big foobar this late in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a great look to have that out there. If I'm looking at that's all nonsense to me, right? But to other NFL players, football players, coaches that know what that means, it's very useful. You basically handed them a playbook, which is not ideal. I wish I had the like screenshot of Dan Campbell's face and his reaction, because you and I are both parents. We've got kids. Like, they do something where you just want to lose your freaking mind, but you can't, because it's not the right situation for it. And you have to like cartoon style swallow the grenade and let it go off in your stomach and be like, okay, cool. Yeah. We'll deal with that internally. Like, for somebody that's super intense, for him to be like, oh yeah, he's like, I had not heard about that. We will have to, and like, you can see him going like, I need to get off this podium right now. Where's Gibbs? Like,
the tension just came through the screen. Like, you're not in the room, but you feel like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was
and that is not a man I want coming at me angry. I will I will tell you that.
Right.
He will eat my kneecaps. But all right. I am going to go also with that Detroit game. I had, believe it or not, I was not going to use a Thursday game for a change. I had the Tua hit. Sean Gary hits him. They throw a roughing the passer flag, and then they review it and pick it up because he didn't hit him in the head or whatever. Because I thought it was ridiculous. The guy left his feet. But anyway, this to me was a little bit worse. And I'll show the video here in a second. Keenan Allen gets his helmet ripped off. Right, this is late in the game. He gets his helmet ripped off, and he's staring at the ref, going, "Hey man, where's my flag? Where's my flag?" Just like, I'm sorry, not staring at him. He was yelling at him. He was probably using some good Christian words. And finally, the flag gets thrown, and you start hearing the announcers go, "Okay, now they call it. He got his way." And me as a Bears fan went, he's getting flagged. And he did. He ends up getting an unsportsmanlike conduct. So here it is. Here's the play. Yep. So it's ripped off. You can see he's using some words, and there goes the ball. And here comes the flag. Now, this is from a meme, hang tight memes, I believe is what this is. It was pretty funny. He talks about how Keenan Allen balled out on Thanksgiving, which, good pun, good wordplay, bravo. Listen, I understand why they threw the unsportsmanlike. I don't have a problem with that part of it. But had you done your job in the first place, that wouldn't have happened. You can clearly see the guy grabs onto his helmet and rips it off. I don't know how that is not a penalty. There is no legal way to take off another player's helmet in a game.
Certainly not.
Yeah, so a massive missed call, and then to penalize the player who you missed the call on or for. Yeah. It's absolutely inexcusable. And the truth of the matter is, we see stuff like this kind of regularly now, and it's getting a little ridiculous. And again, I'm going to keep going back to, because they did a lot of these last night, the expedited replays are, fixing calls on the field. Well, what the hell? If you can't fix that, what's the point?
Right.
Like, you have to be able to fix these calls.
Yep.
So give him the unsportsmanlike, but make it a negating penalty, or cancel each other out by replay going, listen, he ripped his helmet off, like, you should have called that. And, it was almost like the phantom horse collar that they called on Kyler Gordon early in the game too.
Yeah, that was bad too.
It clearly wasn't, and replay could have fixed that one, but again, they chose not to. So this, like, picking and choosing when you are going to correct calls has to go. You have the cameras for it in most stadiums. Use the damn cameras, use your officiating, and fix the stuff. Stop trying to protect the ego of your guys on the field and actually get the play calls right.
Yep.
So, all right, buddy. Anything else from you before we get on up out of here and watch this fourth quarter? This is a fun game.
Yeah, it is. It is. The refs just missed a call on a blow to the head of Jameis.
Oh no,
that knocked his helmet loose. So,
ooh, that's okay. They just Bo Nix just threw an interception. Son of a bitch.
You're like 10 seconds ahead of me.
Oh, sorry. He did not throw an interception.
Look at that. No, that's all right.
I'm about 5 points back from winning a game that I really need to win, and that's gonna hurt a little bit. That's gonna hurt. I've got Bo Nix, Javonte Williams, who apparently is not playing this game, and Will Lutz. So 5, well, now 7.
Nice.
Now I'm gonna need 7.
All right. Well, yeah. No, we got new hope for the Bears on the horizon. We've hit the rock bottom. They made the change. We have no real expectations that we need to have for results other than seeing Caleb continue to grow. And so I hope that we can just, have some fun the last 5 games and look forward to next year and hopefully get to a point where we can be talking about playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. These last 5 weeks for me are going to be watching to see how the team responds to our interim head coach, and watching, can he handle play calling duty and being an effective head coach. So far he's given me no reason to believe that he can't, but that is that's a huge transition. You're taking on a whole lot more. But I think this team is going to play inspired the rest of the way, or maybe not inspired, but motivated to at least go out and get a win for Brown at some point in time. And you never know, they could catch fire and win they could go out and win the last 5. You're right. Which not ideal for draft position, but it's what you want to see, is that your team learns how to win and play together and finish games. So
right.
We will, still some tough tasks. San Francisco is going to be a little bit easier, but you still have 3 tough divisional opponents, and Seattle after that, who's, if I'm not mistaken, leading their division right now too. So going to be a rough way, but should be fun. All right. Fun as always, buddy. Appreciate the time. And, we'll catch you next week. For those of you that stuck around or stopped in, we truly appreciate you. Again, leave something in the comments. What was your bad call of the week? Who's your top head coaching candidate? Or who do you absolutely not want? Always good to get some different opinions. And until next time, try to avoid making another bad call.
It's another week, another game night. The Bears are back and they're out of sight. Bad calls, bad luck, it's a weekly sight. Tune in to another bad call, let's make it right. No, it's another bad call, it shows the name. Breaking down the plays, the blame and the shame. From Soldier Field to the NFL's domain, we're here to talk it out again and again. Another